Could I have everyone's attention, please? Testing 1 2 1 2. Welcome to the anniversary, everybody. My name is Darryl. I'm an alcoholic. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street at 8:30 p.m. in Doylestown, and today is our anniversary. At this time, we would like to pass our baskets. For this event is, run by donations, and, it's very expensive. So we will pass the basket at this time. And where's our speaker at? Oh, there he is. All right, our speaker is, he's a good friend of the contact group all the way from California. His name is Mickey Bush. Please give Mickey a warm welcome.
All right, I got it. Hi everybody, my name's Mickey Bush and I'm a fully conceded alcoholic. I identify that way in Alcoholics Anonymous because in the beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, this beautiful book, it says on page 30, we learned we had to fully concede to my innermost self that was alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. It's the first step in recovery, but it's not the first of the 12 steps. That's a totally different step, though often confused. The first step in recovery, where we learned we had to fully concede to my innermost self that was alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. Now, the first of the 12 steps doesn't say anything about admitting we're alcoholic. In fact, it doesn't say anything about being alcoholic, though it's often confused. The first of the 12 steps is a totally different step, and that's where we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our life had become unmanageable. A totally different deal, though it's often confused. And I see people saying misleading information, especially to a struggler, a new guy. They say a newcomer does the first of the 12 steps as soon as he walks through the door and raises his hands as an alcoholic. He's off and running. And of course that's not true. And why it's particularly, shall we say, somewhat dangerous, because the first step is not only the only step that we can do 100%, but it's the only step that we have to do 100%. And it's the step that we're going to build a foundation on to build a sobriety on. So if we don't get it absolutely correct, we all know what happens to anything we build on a shaky foundation, don't we? And that seems to happen a lot in recovery, where people, relapse and slip, as we call it, and stuff. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to talk in terms of the first 3 steps for this next hour or so. And, it's a workshop, so that's all right, it's all right. It's a workshop, so, you're going to take part in it. It's not like a talk, where I'm just going to pontificate, but, you're welcome to ask questions, especially if you've got something that you don't understand. I'd be delighted to answer your questions, or double talk you into thinking I can answer your questions, one of the two. So, we're participating in that. I'm really glad to be here. I've never been here before, but I'm really excited to be here, and I'm very, very fond of Ron, and I can understand, being ugly, but I mean, he's a nice guy, really, you can't really do too much about ugly, Anyway, I'm very fond of Ron, so I accepted coming here as a special treat. So I'm really glad to be here and to do what we do. I got the 2 assets that I need for, recovery, and I hope you got too. The beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, which I have no problem with, although I do know people that are not too fond of it. But getting back, I was just recently in Vegas. I got a couple of houses in Vegas, and they've got a meeting there which is a first step meeting, and it's for newcomers and strugglers, and it's pertinent to the very first step. And there's often like 60 odd people at the meeting, and I went there, and there was a guy there, very nice person, 46 years sober. And of course he's appreciated, and people adore him, and appreciate his length of sobriety, I just say this as a means of conveying a little message to you. He's 46 years sober. And when he shared, when it came for him to share a few minutes, he said, I had absolutely no problem with the first of the 12 steps. I knew I was an alcoholic, and I had no problem admitting it. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, why did you say that? What? He said. I said, well, you said that you had no problem with the first of the 12 steps. You knew you was an alcoholic, and you had no problem admitting it. He went, well, that's what the first step is. He said, that's the first step. Why wouldn't I say that? What's the problem? I said, oh, well, all right then, well, endorse it to me. Show me in the first of the 12 step where it says anything about admitting you're alcoholic. What are you talking about? He said, it's all about admitting you're alcoholic. I went, okay, I believe you. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I've got a different... But, show me. In the first of the 12 steps, we got the steps on the wall. It says, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. Our lives have become unmanageable. Where does it say anything about admitting we're alcoholic? You said that you had no problem with the first of the 12 steps. You knew you was an alcoholic, and you had no problem admitting it. So you was up and ready for step 2. I said, well, show me where it says anything like that. He went, piss off, I don't want to talk to you anymore. So, 46 years sober, So, I like to kind of, if you like, correct some of this stuff and make sure that we get the message right, so that there's no confusion for that. Because, as I said, on page 30, it says, we learned we had to. We had to. We learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed. So we had to do it, and it has to be done. There's no option there. There's no take what you want and leave the rest and decide to do this or not do it and stuff. We had to do it, and it has to be done. So, I'm not confused about anything along this line. And I'm not disturbing you, am I? Okay. Don't want to disturb nobody here. So, and I don't hear a lot of that. We learned we had to. So, I don't hear a lot of people say, I want to learn, will you help me, will you teach me so that I know how to do it, what I can do, will you teach me, I want to learn. I don't hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of people say, I know, followed by, yeah, but, I know, yeah, but, the mating call of arseholes. I know, yeah, but. It don't say I know, yeah, but. It says we learned. And why it's so emphatic to me is because when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous under my own volition on January the 15th, 1983, I was so sick that I didn't even know I was sick. And that's really sick. When you're so sick that you don't know you're sick, that's really sick. And if you're as sick as I was when I got here, so sick that you come into a meeting like this, a room full of alkies, good alkies it seems to me, and you scan the room and you think, well, I'm not as sick as him. Do you know how sick that is? Do you know how sick it is to be in a room full of alkies thinking you ain't as sick as the next guy? That's really sick. So if you're here today wondering whether you is or whether you isn't a real alcoholic or not, I want you to know that I can relate to being as sick as you don't think you are, really sick, and I never knew. So I had to learn. And I needed to hear what it was saying in the beautiful book Alcoholics Anonymous. So that's why I emphasised that, because I didn't know, but I did. I learned, and you guys taught me what it was, and I had to learn those things. And you know, unfortunately, when I was trying to learn, I struggled somewhat because, you know, I went round asking, and a lot of people, perhaps you, didn't know. And so, you know, I was getting misled. Anyway, I'll touch on that as we go along. So we learned we had to fully conceive. So what is it about me that makes me alcoholic? I looked in the beautiful book Alcoholics Anonymous. Although it told me many things that I did because I was alcoholic, although it emphasized, you know, alcoholic addictive behavior, although it told me, you know, the consequences and the results of my drinking, it didn't tell me what it was about me that made me alcoholic. And I know on page 44 and things like that, it said, you know, if when you honestly want to, you can't control the amount you take, or you cannot quit entirely, you've probably got a disease only a spiritual experience will conquer. You know, that's all very well, but that's not what makes me alcoholic. You know, one's too many, 1,000 ain't enough. Once I start, I can't stop. I can't stop from starting. I drink and I black out. I've lost everything. I've ended up in the crap. You know, all that's true if you're alcoholic, but that's not what makes me alcoholic. That's what I do because I'm alcoholic. That's a consequence and a result of being alcoholic. But that's not what makes me alcoholic. So I wanted to know, what is it about me that makes me alcoholic? Because I had to learn. I had to learn to fully concede. How could I fully concede to my innermost self that I was alcoholic if I didn't even know what it was about me that made me alcoholic? So I went round asking. People, what is it about you that makes you alcoholic? You'd be amazed at what I got told. Maybe you don't know. People told me all kinds of weird stuff. You know, that I got a twofold disease, obsession of the mind, allergy of the body. Well, that's true if you're alcoholic. We have a disease called alcoholism. It's a twofold disease, obsession of the mind, allergy of the body. But I could read that in a library book. You know, that wasn't what it was about me that made me alcoholic. That's what I had and what I was because I was alcoholic. Well, I don't understand what you mean. I'm asking you a simple question. It's the first step in recovery. I want to learn. What is it about me that makes me alcoholic? What is it about you that makes you alcoholic? Well, when I drink, if I put well, that's what you do when you drink. That's a consequence and a result of your drinking. That's not what makes you alcoholic. Well, you know, easy does it. Utilise, don't analyse. Keep it simple. And all the other backup things that people say when they don't know jack shit, you know. So, you know, I didn't want to fall into that trap, so I wanted to learn, and I went round asking, and a lot of people didn't know. But I needed to know. Because I didn't know. And I was dying of untreated alcoholism. You know, I was 40 years of age, broke, busted, disgusted and not to be trusted, dying of a disease that I didn't even know I had. And you know, I'm not an idiot. I'm not just good looking. You know, I'm smart. I got a great education. I got street cred. I got academics. I got a PhD for crying out loud. You know, pretty heavy drinker. You know, and yet here I am dying of a disease that I don't even know I got. Now, I don't mean to offend any idiots in the audience. If you're an idiot, don't be offended. I mean, I don't mean to, offend you, but I didn't want to. Here I am dying of untreated alcoholism, and wow, I had to do something about that. And I had to come here to learn, and you guys taught me, because I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I was alcoholic. And you know, people, you guys did. I heard you talk about being alcoholic and why you drank. Now, I didn't know why I drank. I didn't have any idea. I'm from northwest London. You probably picked up on that, right? I mean, this is the way I speak. Alcohol didn't do this to me. You know, I mean, where I come from, everybody drinks. Don't know why we drink. You know, nobody ever said you should. Nobody said you shouldn't. Everybody just did. We drank if the team won. We drank if the team lost. If it was a tie, we drank till there was a result. We just drank. You know, I don't know why. Nobody ever worked out why. I came in here and all you folk knew why you were doing it. My very first meeting, I heard people talk about they drank because they couldn't stand who they was, and they couldn't stand the pain, and they was hiding behind who they was, and they had all these issues, like past the tissues, I got issues, you know, and I thought, at what stage of the game do you discover that? I can't even imagine that, me. I cannot imagine going into any pub I ever drank at and saying to the bartender, "Bartender, hit me with a triple shot of your best booze, because I can't stand who I am and I want to cover up the pain tonight." It never happened, you know. "Oh, Mr. Dealer Man, give me an extra rock of crack cocaine because I really feel inadequate," you know. Never happened. But you guys all knew and I didn't know, so I wanted to learn. I had to learn what it was. What is it about me that made me alcoholic? And I looked in the book and I couldn't find it in the book. I found lots of expressions about what I did because I was alcoholic and can't control my drinking, powerless over alcohol, etc., etc., etc. But I didn't know what it was about me that made me alcoholic. But I learned and I found out. And I found out that what it was about me that made me alcoholic wasn't what I did because I was alcoholic. You know, we have an abnormal reaction to alcohol. Alcoholics have an abnormal reaction to alcohol, and I wanted to know what that was, because I got 3 sisters and brother that don't have an abnormal reaction to alcohol. They don't even know why I drink. You know, they're not alcoholic. I'm an only child in a family of 5 children. You know, my 3 sisters and brother ain't alcoholic. I'm alcoholic. They don't know why I drink. I don't know why they don't. I ask them, "Why don't you drink?" They say, "I don't like it." I say, "What don't you like about it?" They say, "Well, if I have one too many, I feel sick." I say, "Sick? You've got to drink past that." You know what I mean? Who stops at sick? You know, I mean, I puke, but I don't stop drinking. They don't laugh, they think I'm weird. Any other weirdos here today? Yeah, and the rest of you lying mothers, I know weirdos when I see them. You know, so I don't know. So what's the abnormal reaction? So I went through the book and didn't find it. But when I read the doctor's opinion, it said men and women drink primarily because they like the effect produced by alcohol. I went, "Oh, wow, that's cool. What is the effect produced by alcohol?" Because in my meetings I heard people say they liked drinking it, you know, it made them feel good, it was the solution, not the problem, and, you know, they liked drinking, they enjoyed drinking, it was pleasure, da-da-da, and I think, okay, well, I had to learn that there was something different about alcohol and alcoholism. You know, because I've been clean and sober many, many times in my life. I've been physically sober many times in my life. Never had any sobriety. So there was a total difference between sober and sobriety. And I'll elaborate a little bit. I've spent a great deal of my time incarcerated in various joints of different kinds. You know, I've been in maximum security and minimum security. I've been in jitter joints. I've been in joints that cuckoos wouldn't bloody fly over, man. But you know what? Every time I was released from a joint, no matter what kind of a joint it was, I was as physically sober as I stand before you right now with 35 years. But didn't have any sobriety. So I really knew there was a difference between sober and sobriety, because I'd been sober many, many times in my life. I tried to count my release dates one time and lost track. So every time I came out, I was as physically sober as I am right now. So there had to be a difference between sober and sobriety. I wrote the words sober, S-O-B-E-R, son of a bitch, everything's real. Sobriety was S-O-B-R-I-E-T-Y. Staying off booze, recovery is everything to you. Because for an alcoholic to just be sober, that's an horrendous state for an alcoholic to be in. That's why we have to get sobriety, which is, you know, actively through the 12 steps, a recovery from this seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And I had to do that. And I went through and I looked for it in the book, and it didn't say, but in the doctor's opinion it said men and women drink primarily because they like the effect produced by alcohol. What's the effect produced by alcohol? What the effect produced by alcohol is for everybody, alcoholic or not, is that alcohol changes how I feel. It does that for everybody. If the Pope drinks too much wine at Mass, he'll stumble down the stairs. It will change how he feels. Everybody, alcoholic or not, alcohol changes how they feel. Men and women drink primarily because they like the effect produced by alcohol. Alcoholics do that. They like the effect produced by alcohol. It changes how they feel. That's no problem. I understood that. Wasn't what I needed to know. Because for the alcoholic, potential alcoholic or alcoholic who continues to drink and drinks over what we call the invisible line and becomes alcoholic, now the rules have changed. Now the rules have changed. It's no longer about alcohol, it's about alcoholism. Alcohol changes how I feel. It does that for everybody, alcoholic or not. Alcoholism, different rules. The rules have changed. Alcoholism doesn't change how I feel, it changes my perception of reality. Now I know you all knew that, I know you all know that, unless I'd asked you first, and then you wouldn't have known. But alcohol changes how I feel, alcoholism changes my perception of reality. Now I couldn't find that in the book, but I found it in the doctor's opinion, and in the doctor's opinion it said, they are restless, irritable and discontent unless they can again experience a sense of ease and comfort which comes at once from taking a couple of drinks they see other people taking with impunity. No danger. That's what my three sisters and brother do. They like a drink, once in a while they get drunk. But come Monday morning they take their kids to school, they take care of their responsibilities and pay their bills and stuff. They don't end up in detox with me, So alcohol changes how I feel, does that for everybody. Alcoholism changes for the alcoholic only their perception of reality. We all think it does that for everybody, but it doesn't. We want to believe that everybody does that, but it doesn't. Only for alcoholics. It changes me from restless, irritable and discontent to a sense of ease and comfort from taking a few drinks. And I couldn't find that in the beautiful book, but I found it in the doctor's opinion. It didn't say the words I've just said, changing my perception of reality, but it gave me an explanation that I understood. And I heard that in the very first meeting that I got to on January the 15th, 1983. Because I never knew what was wrong with me, and I never knew about being alcoholic. But I went to the meeting, and you guys did, and they tell me I was grey, shaky and smelly when I got here. And there was an English rock and roll singer who introduced me to a couple of people because I was brand new, and they were talking to me as we do. We talk to our new guys, and all of a sudden one of them got up in my face and said, "You're an alcoholic." I said, "What?" He said, "You're an alcoholic." I said, "That's a bloody mean thing to say to somebody. Why would you say a mean thing like that for?" He said, "You're alcoholic." I said, "Why'd you say that?" He said, "Because if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and sounds like a duck and smells like a duck, it's a bloody duck. Just because he's been taking some shit and thinks he's an eagle, no, you're a duck. You're a duck, I'm a duck." Quack, quack. I went, damn. This is the funny farm, guys loving on you and crap, and ducks and eagles, But he was telling me what it was about me that made me alcoholic, because I didn't know. And it was very valuable information, because that statement, our book don't say we don't tell people they're alcoholic. It says we prefer not to, which is a totally different thing. Preferring not to is not that we don't. He got up in my face and I needed somebody to do that, and told me I was an alcoholic. And, the duck and the eagle story enabled me to break through the big bad barrier of denial that I had up. That I didn't even know this was a disease of denial. But I do today. I wrote the word denial, D-E-N-I-A-L. Don't even notice I am lying. Or don't even notice it's a lie. I don't notice when I'm lying, and I don't notice when I'm being lied to. Especially by a disease that tells me I ain't got it. Anybody relate to that? Anybody relate to the voices that talk to you? Who relates to the voices that talk to you? You know the voices that talk to you drive you crazy. You know the voices I'm talking about? Them voices have just said, what voices? Them voices. You know, them voices drive you crazy. So I had to, and see, because the duck and the eagle story later, enabled me to understand that that's what alcohol does for the alcoholic. Alcohol changes my perception of reality. It changes me from a duck to an eagle. I go out drinking as a delicate little duck, I have a few stiff ones and turn into an eagle and go swooping around looking for prey. And that's not P-R-A-Y either, Alcohol changes me from a duck to an eagle. Mary in my home group back there in Santa Monica puts it as well as I've ever heard anybody put it. Mary's this delicate little dudette. Badass drunk is Mary. She says when she drinks, she feels wittier, prettier, and tiddier. And I know exactly what she means. She ain't no little wallflower hanging out. She's like, come and get some of this, big boy. It changes my perception of reality. That's what makes me an alcoholic. Now, all the rest is true. I do have a twofold disease, obsession of the mind, allergy of the body. The obsession sucks me in, takes away my ability to say no, so that then I have to say yes, so that when I do say yes, I think I chose to or wanted to, but didn't. It was the disease making me do something that I didn't want to do. The disease sucks me in, takes away my ability to say no, so that then I have to say yes and think I chose to when I didn't. The obsession gets me to drink. Once I take the first drink, the phenomenon of craving kicks in that I have to then continue drinking. Twofold disease. I know a lot of people like to think it's a threefold disease because they think it's a spiritual aspect. But I often say, what part of the disease is spiritual? There's no such part of the disease that's spiritual. But in the beautiful book it says we have a spiritual disease and a spiritual sickness. I query that, but that's a conversation for another time. But it's a twofold, and I can read that in obsession of the mind, allergy of the body, that we have an alcoholic. And so I'm beginning to understand some of this stuff, so that I can fully concede to my innermost self that I'm alcoholic. So now I've established that I'm alcoholic. So now let's go to the first of the 12 steps, where we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. What did it mean to be powerless over alcohol? I couldn't work that out. Powerless over alcohol, where I come from, you couldn't admit you were powerless over nothing. I mean, if I'd have walked around my hood claiming I was powerless over anything, they'd have changed my name from Mickey to Michelle, for Christ's sake. I couldn't get away. Powerless? What do you mean powerless? What does powerless over alcohol mean? So I went round asking people, maybe I asked you, what does it mean to be powerless over alcohol? You'd be amazed at what I got told. People told me, maybe you. What does powerless over alcohol mean? I needed to know. If I got to admit I'm powerless over alcohol, I want to know what it is. I don't know. Well, it became fairly obvious after a while, because in the beautiful book it told me. It said, remember we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling and powerful. It went on to say, but there's one who has all power, that one is God, may you find him now. Well, if I got to find him, it means I ain't got him. And if he's the source and he's the power over everything, and I'm powerless over alcohol, it was easy to work out that where alcohol was concerned, I was godless. Not what I did because I was powerless. That was a totally different situation. What I did because I was powerless wasn't what powerless meant. Powerless meant no power. That wasn't hard to work out, was it? I mean, that was obvious to... if I got no money, I can't pay my rent. But not paying your rent is not what being broke means. Being broke don't mean that you don't pay your rent. If somebody said, what do you mean by being broke? And you said, well, I can't pay my rent. That's a consequence and a result of being broke, but it's not what being broke means. Being broke means no money. Wasn't hard to work out, was it? Well, if powerless, what does powerless mean? If I say, well, I can't control my drinking, one's too many, that's a result of being powerless, but that's not what powerless is. Powerless is no power. You bored? No power. And if God is the source and God is the power over everything, and I'm powerless over alcohol, where alcohol is concerned, I have no God in my life. Wow. Wow. Power, less power. Well, I had to sort of come to terms with that, because I didn't understand that way of thinking or whatever. You know, I knew what I did because I was powerless, you know, but I didn't understand. See, the spirituality that we talk about, the spiritual malady, is the abstinence of the Spirit. The spiritual malady is the disconnection from the Spirit. That's what I'm doing. How come I'm disconnected from the Spirit? Well, one of the things that's not in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is hitting bottom. And that's what happened to me on January the 15th, 1983. I hit bottom. Two things happened that I wasn't consciously aware of at the time. One was alcohol stopped working. The other was that I hit bottom. I looked for it in the book, couldn't find it. Hitting bottom's not mentioned in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. In the 12 and 12, in the very first step, see, Bill didn't understand it in the program, so he didn't put it in the big book. But more was disclosed to Bill when he wrote the 12 and 12. In the very first step in this book, it says, why all this insistence that every alcoholic must hit bottom first? Well, I mean, that's some ballsy crap to say to a bunch of drunks, isn't it? We insist that you hit bottom first. Yeah, well, hit bottom on this, Father Mucker. You know, I mean, we don't like that shit, do we? You know, but that's more was revealed to him and disclosed to him, and he put it in the 12 every alcoholic must hit bottom first. How come? Well, on January the 15th, that's what happened, and I didn't know it was happening at the time. Alcohol had stopped working. Alcohol hadn't stopped getting me drunk. Alcohol hadn't stopped getting me in trouble. Alcohol hadn't stopped getting me locked up. Alcohol had stopped changing my perception of reality so that I could be here in this rotten world with you rotten people doing rotten crap that I can't stand. And it stopped doing that. I didn't even know it had been doing that. But that's what happened. It was still getting me drunk. I was still drunk. I was still rotting my liver, and I was still getting in trouble. But it stopped making it okay for me to be here. The other thing was I hit bottom. I didn't know what that meant. I heard people in meetings say everybody's bottom's different. Everybody's bottom's different. So I went around and asked him, what do you mean hitting bottom? You'd be amazed at what I got told. People were telling me all kinds of stuff about their bottom. You know, I don't know what you think is your bottom. But far from our bottoms being different, there's no unity in being different. So they're the same. All our bottoms are the same. I haven't seen some of you people, never seen you before in my life. May not see you again. But I know that your bottom is the same as mine. Mine's the same as yours. Ours is the same as theirs. Theirs is the same as ours. If we understand what hitting bottom was. But it wasn't in the book. So what does it mean to hit bottom? Why it's so precious is because hitting bottom is the process that brings us back to the power that the disease has gotten me to move away from and separated me from. If I'm powerless over alcohol, godless where alcohol is concerned, whatever form of God you got, or power greater than yourself, or HP, or whatever you want to call it, we have no truck with anybody's preference along that line. I call it God because I'm all right with God, and Bill Wilson, I got on a CD, tells me that it's okay, regardless of whatever you feel. Atheists and agnostics and everybody else can have their own ideas, but you know, the power that we have in rooms like this works for all alcoholics. It's a little bit of a tangent, but, you know, how come I'm godless where alcohol's concerned? Because I got a disease called alcoholism. And alcoholism gets me to abandon God and spirituality, so that along the path of life, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, the disease becomes the power in my life, dictating and dominating everything I say, do, think and feel, and in and of myself I'm helpless, hopeless and powerless to resist its demands and have to do what it wants me to do, which is drink. And I only discovered that because of the contradiction that's in the book. Look, cunning, baffling and powerful. The disease is cunning, baffling and powerful, alcohol. But then it went, there's one who has all power, that one is God, may you find him now. Well, that contradicted it to me. That clashed. You know, how can God have all the power if alcohol's powerful? Does that mean God's got all the power except the power that the disease has got? So he don't really have it all. He may have more of it and it may be more powerful, but the disease has got some, so he ain't got it all. And that clashed, and I couldn't work with that. So I had to have an understanding of that. And I did it when I discovered about hitting bottom. See, hitting bottom is the process. The disease of alcoholism gets us to separate from the power where alcohol is concerned, so that the disease becomes the power in my life. I'm in the grips of this fatal progressive power that dictates and dominates and makes me do what I already don't want to do, and I can't not do it just because I don't want to. I got to not want to do it, then do these steps in this work so that I don't do what I already don't want to do. And if I don't do these steps or ain't done these steps, I will do what I don't want to do, because the disease I got that I'm powerless over will make me do what I don't want to do. Drink. I never knew that when I got here. And the disease now gets me to abandon God and spirituality. The positive power. And the power that the disease has is the negative power. I'm in the grips of this fatal progressive negative power. That's how come alcohol and drugs have power, because it's the negative power. And the negative power of the disease has gotten me to abandon God, the positive power. And when I get here, I'm in the grips of this negative power and have no positive power, God, to combat the negative power of the disease, and I'm screwed. Until I hit bottom. Hitting bottom, Hitbottom, hurting inside, totally burnt out, turn to our master. I didn't know that the disease had gotten me to turn away to the master, but hitting bottom is the process where I turn back to the master, usually after a bout of what we call, the gift of desperation. Happens to spell God, G-O-D, gift of desperation. We usually reach a stage where we end up with the gift of desperation. I did on January the 15th. I didn't realise it at the time. But, I had the gift of desperation that I'm grateful to have had. And was desperate, and that's what I did. And you may relate to that when I say hitting bottom, which I didn't know I was doing. Hitting bottom is an inside job, not an outside circumstance. Most people talk about hitting bottom as being the outside circumstances of their life and the tail end of their drinking. But that's not what hitting bottom is. Sometimes those outside circumstances enable us to become capable of hitting bottom, but in and of themselves, they're not the bottom. The bottom's an inside job, not an outside circumstance. And believing that those outside circumstances is the bottom is very dangerous for us. Because, as those outside circumstances get better and improve, we falsely believe we've gotten better and improved and drink again. I see it often. But hitting bottom's not about the outside circumstances. People told me all that stuff. Oh, well, I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost my family. Lost my kids. Ended up in detox with disease. Da-da-da-da-da. All these variables. One particular couple I work with, I said, Bill says you've got to hit bottom first. Have you hit bottom first? The little chickadee said, yes, Mick, I've hit bottom. I said, I'm curious. Tell me about it. She said, it's easy, Mick. I was feet to the curb, hustling the Broadway, prostituting myself, trying to earn $1 so I could get loaded. I said, that wasn't your bottom. She said, well, I think it was. I said, I don't give a shit what you think. I said to her, dude, have you hit bottom, pal? He said, yes, Mick, I've hit bottom. I said, tell me about it. He said, it's easy. I was locked up in a penitentiary, married to Bubba. I said, that wasn't your bottom. He said, it felt like it was. See, the outside circumstances is not the bottom. Those outside circumstances enable us to become aware of the gift of which I did, the gift of desperation. Without knowing what I was saying, without knowing who I was saying it to, without knowing what the consequences and the result of what I was saying was going to be, I can remember very clearly going, help me, please help me! What's wrong with me? And asked for help from outside of myself. ASK, Ask Saving Kit. Help, HELP, His ever-loving presence. And although this disease had gotten me to abandon God, God hadn't abandoned me. And when I turned back to Him and asked for help, He seemed to be looking over my shoulder, and he seemed to say, Mick, you silly bastard, I've been waiting for you to ask. Now get yourself over that 12-step fellowship. Sent me to you. I asked for help, he sent me to you. That's why I know God and the power are different. This power that we have, an alcoholic can use to not have to drink one day at a time, is of God and from God and by God, but it's not God. There's a lot more to God than the power he provides alkies to not have to drink today. So now I've got God back in my life. He sent me to you, 12-step spiritual fellowship. You guys introduced me to a big book. In the big book was a program. You introduced me to a sponsor who introduced me to steps and a program of recovery, a design for living. Now I've got so much power in my life now, I don't know what to do with it, for Christ's sake. I said to my sponsor, what shall I do with all this power over alcohol I got? He said, give it away. Go up there to Doylestown at the weekend, give it to them. Don't worry, they won't want it. Powerless? I don't walk around here powerless today. I don't teach my troops about powerless and having no power and what I do because I've got no power. I've got so much bloody power over alcohol, I don't know what to do with it. And so I do what these guys tell me, give it away. What I'm doing right now. Powerless over alcohol. My life was unmanageable. You know, the unmanageability of the first step is the thinking side of the twofold disease, physical and mental, mind and body. The powerlessness is the physical side. The unmanageability is the mental side. I can't sit down at a desk and manage my affairs, get my child support paid, pay my bills, get the laundry done, get the car out of the shop, manage my life. I used to be able to do that. I used to be able to do that 10 times better than the average bear. I used to be able to burn the candle at both ends and still get more done than the average bear. But I've reached a stage now where I'm broke, busted, disgusted and not to be trusted. And you know, I'm a day late and $1 short. And I don't know what to do and I don't know how to do it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the unmanageability. I can't manage my affairs. So I'm powerless over alcohol physically because I had no power. And the unmanageability is the thinking side. I can't think my way through this thing. Wow. So very, very basically, you know, I've covered the first step. The two aspects of the first step. What it is about me that makes me alcoholic and what powerless over alcohol means. And powerless over alcohol means I'm godless over alcohol. Okay, so what are we going to do now? That's the first step. I've got a foundation now. Now, step 2. Second step. Holy crap. Look what it says here. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore me to sanity. What did that mean? Now, I knew all about insanity. I've been incarcerated in nutwards for the criminally insane. I know the legal definition of insanity. I know the dictionary definition of insanity. But that didn't help me. That never helped me one little bit. All those times that those guys came in their white coats and locked me up, not once did they ever tell me what you guys said. They knew how to incarcerate me. They knew how to bash me up. They knew how to hurt me. They knew how to chain me to padded cells. They knew how to zap me on electric machines. They knew how to shoot me up with tranks and Christ knows what else. But they never knew what was wrong with me. And so year after year after year, in and out and in and out and living and going crazier and crazier and crazier. The very first time I got here, you guys taught me. You guys taught me what it meant. Look, restore me to sanity. I can promise you, they never once came and grabbed my arse and said, we're going to lock you up for repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. You guys said that and it went boom to the top. I went, wow! Repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. Drinking. Holy crap. So if drinking was insanity, repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result, drinking was insane. To be restored to sanity meant not drinking. Holy crap. So here I come in step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Came to believe that a power greater than myself would enable me to not have to drink. I went, wow. Wow. Here it is. Right here, right now. Here's a power greater than myself that I can come and join you and be a part of, and then you will enable me to not have to drink today. A power greater than myself. Now, unfortunately, in the first two steps, if you read the first two steps, there's no mention of God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, or any other noun there. You know, HP's not even mentioned there. But there's this like automatic assumption that a power greater than self is God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, and it doesn't say that. And it nearly ran me out of here. Because I didn't want to hear nothing about no God crap. You know, I was sick to death up to here. Years and years ago, I'd been raised in a religion, but I hated it. And the disease got me to abandon all forms of spiritual. I knew all about God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad and all that stuff, but I'd long ago exed that. I didn't know it was the disease of alcoholism that got me to do it. I thought it was just like weird. See, a power greater than myself. Well, when I was incarcerated in some of those institutions, and I was locked up in bread and water, and you know, sometimes they allow you to read the Bible. Not always, but sometimes. I had no trouble with the Bible. I quite like the Bible, Bible, being informed before leaving earth. I quite like the Bible. And in the Bible, I remember reading one time, when any two are gathered in my name, there I will be in your midst. Is that kind of familiar territory to folk? You familiar with that? Is that yes? No? Okay. Are you awake? Is this working? You know, when any two are gathered in my name, there I will be in your midst. I went, wow, that's what we do in AA. Two alcoholics come together for the purpose of recovery. God comes in our midst and produces a power greater than either of us. So it's produced by us, but it's greater than us, and we can absolutely depend upon it to not have to drink today. I came here, me plus you was a power greater than me on my own. You plus us is a power greater than you on your own. Together we can do what I couldn't do alone. I couldn't stay sober, you couldn't stay sober, but together we can stay sober. Here was a power greater than myself, that if I come and join you and say, will you help me, will you teach me, I want to learn, I want to do, will you teach me what to do? Yes, so that I don't have to drink. So here's a power greater than myself that will enable me to not have to drink. Step 2. Oh, wow. And this power that we have in this room right here, right now, is so powerful. We must have a power in rooms like this all over the world. I've been on 7 of the 8 continents carrying this message, or everywhere, all over the world. We got groups of alcoholics coming together to do what we're doing today, to learn how to, you know, enable us to not have to drink today. All over the world, we've got groups like this. Power. There must be a power in this room, right here, right now, that will enable me to not have to drink, that I can take out there, so that I don't have to drink out there. So I don't have to get deluded by the disease out there. And we must have a power in here, mustn't we? I mean, it's idiotic to think that there isn't a power in this very room, right here, right now, that I can take out there. I mean, it's fairly obvious. We're in, is this Doylestown, Ron? We're in Doylestown, Ron. Look, I don't know Doylestown very well. But if we haven't got a power in here that we can take out there and not have to drink, and that we got a disease that makes me do it even when I don't want to do it, if I haven't got a power to combat the power of the disease, when I go out there I'll have to drink. Now, there must be perhaps upwards of 100 people here right now, and I got a feeling that Doylestown ain't ready for 100 alkies to go out there and get shit-faced today, you know. I'm not sure, but I'm fairly confident, you know. So we must have a power in here that I can take out there. So I ain't going to deny it. I don't teach my troops to walk around going, powerless, powerless, everybody's powerless, powerless over everything, powerless over people, places and things. Nothing to do with nothing, being powerless over people, places. I hear that a lot, but it's nothing to do with nothing. Not only has it nothing to do with nothing, but it ain't even true. Because, look, we do have some power over some things some of the time. So I'm not powerless over people, places and things totally. I have some power sometimes over some things. I have the power to come here today or not. I had the power to wear this shirt. I got 3 or 4 other shirts in my suitcase. I got the power. You got the power to stay here and listen to Mickey Bush, or you can go somewhere else. We're not powerless over people, places. I have some power sometimes over some things. I can't afford to apply that type of powerlessness to the powerlessness that I have to concede to and fully concede to over alcohol. Because if I leave even a smidging of a pinprick of a gap for the disease to come barging through, it'll come through with a whole bunch of computer dialogue to burst through any gap I leave it. So I can't be confused about this. I have to completely slam that door. I can't afford to apply the same powerlessness over people, places and things as I do over alcohol. Because I do have some power sometimes over some things. So it's not only got nothing to do with alcohol, because everybody is and isn't powerless over people, places and things, but it's not even true. So I don't know why we say that. We pick it up and I hear it all the time. Powerless over everything, powerless over people, places and things, powerless. Nothing to do with nothing. I go... You know, I recognise this power. And one of the things that I got to learn here is that I got to stop playing God because it don't work. But I've also got to stop playing the disease. Because I'm not, you know, I hear people say, I'm the problem. Look in the mirror and you'll be looking at the problem. It's not true. That's not true, and it's very dangerous for us. Because if I think I'm the problem, guess what? I'm a pubic hair away from thinking I can be the solution. Have you tried that one? Don't bother trying that one. It don't work. See, so I've got a disease called alcoholism that's the problem. And that's what I've got to deal with, and I've got to learn how to deal with it, and I've got to have a spiritual solution to it. That's what I've got, a spiritual solution. The threefold story about the disease. What part of the disease is spiritual? There's no part of the disease that's spiritual. You know, I'm sick because I'm separated from the Spirit. And when I reconnect with the Spirit, I straighten out mentally and physically. But the spiritual malady is the separation from the Spirit. I'm separated from the Spirit because the disease of alcoholism has got me to abandon God and spirituality so that I'm in the grips of the fatal negative power. It's not very hard to work out, is it? But in step 2, now I've connected to a power greater than myself. You guys. Here I am. And it was a place to start. Now, if you're damaged, and why I say this is because if you're very damaged in this area like I was, or even X'd out of everything, it's a place to start. Me plus you is a power greater than me. You plus us is a power greater than you. I can start there. And it's said in the Bible, when any two are gathered in my name, there I will be in your midst. So we come together to do together what I couldn't do. God comes in our midst. Even if we don't want him there, even if we don't recognise him, he's there. 1 and 1 make 3. Do you understand that? Me and you and me, we come together and it makes 3 because God comes in and does it. Now, here's this power. It's a place to start. Because when I got here, I was so sick. And well-meaning people, at least I hope they were well-meaning, said, you know, things like, let go and let God. I said, what? They said, turn it over to God. I said, what? They said, pray to God. I said, what? Are you nuts? If I pray to him, he'll know where I am. You know, I wasn't going to pray to no God that was going to get me. They said to me all my life, God will get you for that. God will get you for that. Don't you do that. Don't you play with that. God will strike you blind. You know what I mean? Why would I pray to something that was going to get me for everything I did? Didn't they tell you that? God will strike you blind. Well, you tell an Alfie not to do something and he'll do it. So when I did it, I found out how good it felt. I thought, I'll risk one eye. Very sick, very sick. You know, so, you know, I came to this understanding. Let me take a little sip of this. You know, and here's the power that I got now. Wow. Okay, so now I've learned what it is about me in step 1. powerlessness. I've now got a power that I can depend upon. And today, what happened actually, why I wear this thing around my neck, it's Native American. I was bolting out the door. I didn't want to hear none about the God crap. I was bolting out the door. And there were some Native American brothers sitting by the door, and they said, Mick, come and join us. Come and sit with us. We got a different way of saying some of this stuff. Well, I had nowhere else to go anyway, so I said, okay, and I went and sat with them, and they talked about the Great Spirit, Father Sky, Mother Earth, brothers and sisters, family, F-A-M-I-L-Y, Father and Mother, I love you. And the Great Spirit was the Father. And if He's the Father, we're His kids. If I'm His kid, you're His kid. If you're His kid, I'm His kid. We either all is or we all ain't. And if you're His kid and I'm His kid and we're brothers and sisters, we've got to be good to each other and kind to each other like the Father is, who loves us, you know, no matter what. He loves everything He created, from the smallest blade of grass to the Empire State Building. He loves everything. And this was a lot more warm and fuzzy to me than what I'd been used to, like, on your knees, sinner! Oh, Christ, I didn't want like that. I hated that. So here it was, and I grew, and I still, you know, today, I have that, you know, I'm not broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted today. I've changed through this program, and you know, I'm a very wealthy man financially and materially, but my greatest asset is that loving God you taught me about that I never brought in here with me. But it's so desperately powerful for me today and keeps me on this. You know, I'm a very sick man. You know, I have to apply this thing, and I get to apply this thing every day. They wanted to hang me in 1966. I came out of a blackout. I got released from a maximum security prison as physically sober as I stand before you right now. Within 6 weeks, I come out of a blackout. I'm in chains in front of a judge on a murder charge, and I've killed a man, and I don't know what I've done. They wanted to hang me. They charged me with murder 1. Had an 8-day trial at the Old Bailey, and that prosecuting counsel, he addressed the jury. He said, members of the jury, on behalf of our sovereign lady, the Queen, the people of the United Kingdom, the British Empire, and for the Commonwealth of Nations, we demand the ultimate penalty on that man. We demand that he be sentenced to hang from the neck until dead. And I can remember looking at him and going, you rotten bastard. That's a lot of people. For the Commonwealth of Nations, they wanted my ass dead. Kind of helps me today when one of you get pissed off at me. I've been pissed off at by nations, man. You know. That's where alcohol takes me. I don't go out and have little slippy poos. I go out drinking and come out of blackouts in front of judges in chains on murder charges. I don't know about you. Having been completely free and clear of alcohol 6 weeks earlier. So now I know what's wrong with me. I'm an alcoholic. I understand what it is. I'm in a power greater than myself that enable me to not have to drink, which is restoring me to sanity. Well, now I come to step 3. Made the decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I've understood God. Wow. Well, I looked in the book, and the book was different to what the step said. In the book, after the ABCs, it said, now we're at step 3, which means that we turned our will and our life over to God, as I've understood God. But the step didn't say that. The step said something different. I don't know whether you realise that. The step says we turned our will and our life over to the care of God, which is a totally different, because I made the mistake. I turned my life over to God, God turned it back, said, I don't want it, I gave it to you, what the hell are you giving it back to me for? I went, oh, I thought that's what it was. No, it says the care of God. I went, oh, wow. Well, it just so happens I was living in Santa Monica, and I had a white Jaguar sports car, XJS, 12-cylinder Jaguar sports car. Being a limey, I'm in a Jaguar 12-cylinder, 12 steps, 12 traditions, 12 cylinders. Nothing wrong with that, you know. But it's a limey piece of shit is what it is, and it breaks down all the time. And when it breaks down, I take it back to the mechanic I got it from and put it in his care for fixing and repair. But I don't give him my car. It's my car. I own it. I'm responsible for it. DMV look for me for their payment for it. But I put it in his care for fixing and repair. I got it from him and put it back in his care, fixing and repair. Same as my life. I got it from God, but I need help with it and, put it in his care for fixing and repair because I'm human and he brought me here. And he's the Father, so I have the right to ask my Father, I want help, can you help me? And I got 2 kids. I'm their dad. I want to help them. I want to be there for them, and I want them to turn to me when they need help. Everybody here got kids? Yeah. Well, you know what I'm talking about. I ain't never been married. I got 2 kids, boy and a girl, different mums. Never been married. Never had a wife of my own. But you're a sick bunch, I can tell that. Yeah. And I'm their dad, and I want to help them, and I'm in a position to help them. Well, he's my father. So I have not only an obligation, but a right to turn to my dad and say, help me, I want to help from you. Then he gave me the gift to supply this one. And in the 3rd step, I discovered that here I am, so I'm going to treat you as my God, if you like. Call it God, Jesus, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. We have no truck with anybody. Just so happens I write words, and some of those was GOD, group of drunks, group of drug addicts. Beyond your wildest dreams, so go on dreaming, good old dude, I write loads of words for God. And if I'm going to come here and treat this as my God, while I'm developing an understanding, I'm going to come and say, will you help me, will you teach me, I'm going to turn my will and my life. Well, what is my will and my life? I'd never thought about things like that. What is my will and my life? Well, I learned from people like Joe and Charlie and other people that helped me and maybe helped you. What is my will and my life? My will is my thinking, my life is my actions. My will is my thinking, my life is my actions. I'm going to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I've understood God. I've got an understanding of God that I've understood, and that is because I've got Bill Wilson on a CD that he spoke in Long Beach, California at the 1960 World International Convention. And he's talking and he says that he defined it in 1 and 2, so he named it in 3, and he named it God because he was okay with God. But if you're not okay with God, name it whatever you are okay with, and it's okay with us. Well, I was okay with God too. Group of drunks, group of drug addicts. It was fine with me. So I named this God. So here I am, and I'm going to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I've understood God. Well, I've understood God because I've understood it from steps 1 and 2. So and I hear people at podiums and rectums like this, say, God as you do or don't understand Him, God as I don't understand. That's not what our message says. That's not what step 3 says. It says understood. Understood is a past tense word. It's a past tense word because the understanding comes from 1 and 2. And I've got to have no doubt or clarity on this. And I'll tell you why it's important. Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, when the demons are screaming and your ass is in a sling and the phenomenon of craving is on you and you've got a drink so bad it's ripping your guts out, you better have something more going for you than the fact that you don't want to do it. And that something better makes sense to you that you understand. Now, you haven't got to understand God, nobody's saying that, but you've got to have an understanding of a power greater than yourself that you can depend on to not have to drink today. Not standing and going, I don't understand God. That's not our message in step 3. So anyway, my will is my thinking, my life is my action. But it had to be more than just what I'm doing today. We got to live in the now, but not for the now. Because I can't live in the now if I've got guilt, shame and remorse from yesterday. And I can't live in the now if I've got fear, worry and anxiety about tomorrow. So I'm going to turn my will and my life, my thinking and my actions, everything I have done, am doing and will do, everything I wish I'd done, would like to be doing and hope I'll do, so that I can live in the now. So that I'm not coming around guilt, shame and remorse from yesterday or fear, worry and anxiety about tomorrow. So I'm going to put all this into the care of God as I've understood God, so that I can live in the now, N-O-W, no other way, because I'm new, N-E-W, nothing else works. So I've got to find a new way of doing this. And now, my word for trust is T-R-U-S-T. try relying upon step 3. Now, there's a total difference in believing in God and relying on God. If I was to ask this room who believes in God, I'd probably get a very high percentage of people who say, yeah, I believe in God. But if I was to ask the same group, do you rely on God? Perhaps I'd get a lot less percentage. Because there's a total difference on relying on God. So in step 3, I'm going to make a decision, turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I've understood God. And I've got an understanding that I can definitely rely upon and understand. So that I don't have to drink today. Wow. All I've really done over the last hour plus talking to you is just said to you, I can't, he can, so let him. That's fairly clear, isn't it? You know, it's not too difficult to work out. I was powerless, helpless, hopeless and powerless. Didn't even know what it was. I came to believe in this power greater than myself, that if I come and join you and do what you do and allow you to teach me and help me, I won't have to drink today. And then I'm going to turn this over to you so that I can come and be a small part of a great whole. And I love that. I love being a small part of a great whole. It's very precious to me to be that. Now, I know I get a lot of juice and I get a lot of rah-rah, more than I depend upon him and more than I deserve quite often. You know, I've even heard it here today. Somebody told me today here in this very room that I saved their life. That you saved my life, Mick. Well, it's all right them saying it as long as I don't believe it. You know, because we all know who saves the lives around here, don't we? So, you know, here I am and I was just told I was a celebrity in Alcoholics Anonymous by 2 celebrities. I was over at the old home group in San Fernando Valley and I don't live there now, but I was over there doing some business and I checked in at the old home group and went to the meeting. It was a great meeting. Still a good meeting, even though I don't go there anymore. And 2 celebrities, 2 Academy Award winning actresses that you all know by name, known them a long time. They were there and I haven't seen them in a long time. They said, Mick, good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a long while. I said, yeah, I don't live in the neighbourhood anymore, but thought I'd come and visit the old home group. And one of these celebrity actresses said, I didn't realise, Mick, what a celebrity you've become in AA. I said, what? She said, you're like this 12-step celebrity. I said, what are you talking about? She said, I'm making a movie in New York, she said, and, you know, I went to 2 meetings in New York, and in both the meetings, they quoted you, they mentioned you by name. You're like this 12-step celebrity. I said, yeah, bloody big deal, a celebrity in an anonymous program. I said, no, you're a celebrity, I'm just a small part of a great whole. And I love that. I love being a small part of a great whole. I haven't got to be better, I haven't got to be worse, just got to do my bit. I just got to do what you guys taught me to do, get a home group and get a commitment and to read a book and to be of love and service. Change. Holy crap. Change. That's what the doctor's opinion says. We have to change. I got news for you. You got to change too. I don't care whether you like hearing that. You got to change. Why have I got to change? Because if you don't change, you won't have a sufficient substitute, like the doctor says. You know, unless he can induce an entire psychic change, there's very little hope of his recovery. So if you don't change, you won't have the hope for your recovery. Change. So why have I got to change? I'll tell you why you got to change, same as me. Because everything we already are and everything we bring in here, the disease is already screwed. Everything we are when we come in here, the disease is already screwed. Everybody kind of go along with that one? Can you grasp that one? So if I don't change, the disease will keep screwing me. Well, do you want that? And anything we don't change will repeat. Would you want to keep repeating what you was doing out there beforehand? If you don't change, you keep getting screwed. So we got to change, because everything I am and have become, you know, the disease is already screwed. So I got to change in order to not keep getting screwed by this disease. And what induces the change is the 12 spiritual steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. That induces the change that the doctor talks about. And if we don't change, we'll carry on getting screwed. Well, I don't want that. I didn't want that. I've got just a couple of minutes left here. Does anybody have a question that they want me to bamboozle you into thinking I got an answer for? No? It's okay. Yeah. I hope you've heard some stuff that perhaps you didn't hear before. Yeah. CHANGE, choosing honesty allows new growth every day. That's what we got, haven't it? We got a way of living here where we can live without having to drink. We haven't got a program that solves every problem and prevents life on life's terms from happening. What we have got is a way of living so that when life on life's terms kicks my butt, I don't have to drink over it. And I hear people say, it's no longer about the drinking, it's my thinking. This better be about not drinking. Drinking's only a symptom. It's in the book. I laugh at that stuff. Saying that drinking is only a symptom is like saying the ball is only a symptom of the game. This better be about not drinking. Yeah. And that's what you enable me to do. A man like me that has come from where I came from. How does a guy like me come from a nut ward for the criminally insane into where I am today? Right here. And you know what? That's what Alcoholics Anonymous means to me. Look. ALCOHOLICS. Alcoholics. ANONYMOUS. Alcoholics Anonymous. A life centered on helping others lives in complete sobriety. Actions, not our names, yield maintenance of unity and service, which is our legacies. Yeah. I told you I wasn't just good looking. You know, my telephone number is 818 area code, are you sober? 818 area code, are you, like Toys R Us, RUSOBER. And I give you that number because on my very first meeting, that's what happened to me. I got home and I had 2 telephone numbers in my hand. Well, guess what? I know you don't, but I did. I called one of the numbers. Guy answered the phone. I said, I don't know who you are, pal. I said, but I got your number in my phone, in my hand. Oh, he said, I recognise your accent from the meeting at lunchtime. Oh, I said, was you at the meeting? He said, yeah, I gave you the number. I said, what about them meetings? He said, what about them? I said, you go to them meetings? Yes, he said. I said, what does that mean? He said, I'm 4 months sober. I said, 4 months sober? Yes, he said, 4 months sober, go to the meetings. I went, oh, wow. I said, you go to the meetings at night? He said, yeah, I go every night. I said, oh, can I go to a meeting with you tonight? He said, well, I would normally say yes, he said, but I'm going to make arrangements to go to a movie with some friends tonight, so I ain't going to go to a meeting. I went, oh, all right, don't matter. Went all little inside and felt rejected, and he picked up on it like we do. He went, holy crap, he said, wow, what's wrong with me? I said, what's the matter? He said, you may have just saved my life. I went, no, I never done nothing. He said, a newcomer wants to go to a meeting. I tell him, no, I'm going to a movie. Holy shit, where do you live? I'm coming round to pick you up. I went, really? He went, yes. I went, what about your movie? He went, you're much more important than a movie. I said, I am. I went all special again, didn't I? He came round and picked me up, took me to a meeting. It was raining in LA that day. Got me a beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, 3rd edition, still got it. Got lots of miles on it too. Never had a drink from that day to this. There's a little tangent to that story. We do things like this in LA, and we have little celebrations. And recently was at a picnic, outside picnic, and I had all my troops with me, and they got no money, of course, but I teach them what you guys taught me, how to be of service and how to contribute and how to do the door and how to do clean up and contribute to their well-being like you guys taught me. And I was walking around the picnic ground and bumped into old Zachary that all those years ago had took me to that meeting. I went, hi Zach, how you doing? He went, doing great, Mick. He said, I know you're doing good, I hear good things about you all the time. I said, I'm doing great. I said, what are you doing on this side of the hill, Zach? Because he lives over Beverly Hills, the other side of the hill. He said, I'm speaking at the meeting today. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'm speaking at the meeting. And it took me just a half a minute to grasp. All these years later, he's still 4 months ahead of me. Actions. And that's what you guys taught me. An old guy told me, come on, Mick, we go to the Tuesday night meeting, we'll wash the cups. I said, I don't want to wash the cups. He said, we'll go and get drunk. I said, I don't want to get drunk. He said, come and wash the cups. I went, oh, shoot. I had to go and wash the cups. Washing 200 hairy ass mugs, cups, felt like a right dick. Hour after everybody's gone home, up to my elbows in water, washing 200 cups, mugs, big ugly mugs. As we, the following day, he said, if they let us, we'll come and wash the cups. I said, we just washed the cups last night. He said, they'll need washing again next week. I said, I don't even wash my own cups. He said, go and get drunk. I don't want to get drunk. Come and wash the cups. I said, oh man, go and wash the cups. Went on for 4 months. 4 months, Tuesday night, washing these hairy ass cups. 200 rotten ass had ash in them because they smoked in meetings then and all that. Pissing and moaning on the superstar watching bloody cups. One night, guy standing at the end of the sink came up. I said, what do you want? He said, sponsor said I've got to wash the cups. I said, what cups? He said, I guess them cups. I said, piss off and get your own cups. You ain't having my cups. These are my cups. Well, I didn't know that he was teaching me how to become a contributor and change so that I can be a small part of this great whole. And if you're wondering, I'll give you a little clue. I've heard some laughter in here today. If you're laughing, you're relating. And if you're relating to a sicko like me, there ain't no doubt about you, pal. I don't get through to no well people. My mum don't laugh at my shit. I go home to see my mum every year I knock her up and I tell her, Mum, I'm 34 years sober. She says, so is the cat. She says, I'm busy, I'm going to bingo. You know. So, namaste. I'm absolutely thrilled to the fact that you've allowed me to come here today. Namaste.
All right, that was epic talk there. Let's thank Nick one more time, please. During our break, take a little time to thank Mickey for coming out all this way. We have a 15-minute smoke break, bathroom break, snack break, please. And there's a can across the street in case you smoke. Please be mindful of that, and we will take a break. So let's break up, whatever that looks like.